Hello everyone, I'm Fallon. This is Whole Homemaking, and this week I am showing you what we eat when we're cooking everything from scratch. And we're doing some quick and easy scratch cooked meals. These are great for your budget, they're great for beginners because it is so darn simple. The first thing that I am cooking up is my favorite crockpot chicken. This is going to be our our supper for both Monday and Tuesday. I tried to block this off into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday so that I only cooked 3 times instead of 5 times. So I've got some rough chopped vegetables, put them in the crock pot, and then I'm making a spice mix. So this is Tony's, some poultry seasoning, and I think some pepper. And I have a whole chicken thawed, and I put the spice mix right onto it and I rub it in. You can also put some salt on the chicken the night before and put it in the fridge. That will really kick up the tenderness and the flavor for this recipe. But that's pretty much it. I get as much of the spice rub onto the chicken as I can, and then that goes right on top of the vegetables. Everything's raw going into the crock pot, and I put a little bit of water in the bottom to kickstart the cooking, and that's it. It goes on low all day, and it smells so good all day. This is one of my favorite recipes. For lunch, I am making carrot lentil soup with garlic, ginger, all kinds of spices. We were really feeling under the weather the week I was filming this, and this soup is really good for that. All the onions, garlic, I made it with bone broth as well, but it's filling from the lentils. So I'm going to make sure that all of my aromatics are cooking first in the pot, and then I just add in some diced up carrots. Does not have to be pretty because it's going to be blended up afterwards. And so that all goes into the pot and sautés for a few minutes. And I'll just add the spices at the end. I don't want them to burn, but I want them to get into the oil, and when they're in the warm oil, they will become more flavorful. So I have cinnamon, curry powder, masala, spice mix, and then a little bit of turmeric. I don't really know how much of these I put in. I just put in some until it looks good. And of course add some salt because salt makes everything more flavorful. And I added some tomato paste because I had some. And that's the lentils going in. They're just dry lentils, and I'll put some bone broth in. It looks weird because it's still a bit frozen, but that doesn't matter because it'll melt in a few minutes. For this lunch, I also made some sourdough, and I have a video about how I make sourdough, which I will link here. And I just made a quick grilled cheese sandwich to go with our soup, and it was so good. And my daughter liked the sandwich better than the soup, but that's okay. She's one, so I'll let her do that.
You don't like it? You want the sandwich?
So it's evening now, and I'm just going to plate up the chicken. So you'll see when I bring this out, it's so tender. This always happens, like it just detaches from the body. Nothing wrong with that. It's incredibly tender and tasty. And I wanted to kick things up a fancy level, so I took out all the potatoes and put them in a bowl, mashed them, and I mean, you could serve them whole, you could mash them, but I took it a step further, added some butter, I think some cream cheese into this one, some milk, and of course salt. And then I added some stock from the crock pot as well. And then I blended it up with my hand blender. If you don't like dairy, that's okay. You can put coconut milk in it. You can just do the stock if you want. I've put roasted garlic, goes great in these. They have a really hearty, earthy flavor because they've been cooking with the chicken and carrots. It's not quite as delicate as when you just boil the potatoes, but we really, really like it. And you can kick it up a notch, as I said, by just using your hand blender, making it all fluffy and nice. This was a big hit with all of us. We loved it. For Wednesday and Thursday, I kept breakfast pretty much the same. I still had some frittata left, so I just did toast and some avocado and frittata, and that was it. I did do quite a big prep on Wednesday morning, and that's going to be lunch and dinner for both Wednesday and Thursday, and there's actually enough for leftovers for the weekend too. So I made my Southwest chili. This is a good fridge clean outer. Whatever you have, you can probably put it in chili. So I have my ground turkey cooking on the stove, and I put in onions and garlic. I put in some sweet peppers. You could add carrots or green peppers or sweet potato I added later. I added some corn later. Beans, of course. Beans tend to not agree with our family's stomachs very much, so I don't put too many of them in, but of course beans would be great in here. Once all the vegetables are in there, I added some smoked paprika and cumin, and I think a bit of cinnamon too, and this is my secret ingredient, cocoa powder. I know it's weird, but it really adds a depth of flavor, and of course salt goes into it because it makes everything taste better. Just cubed up some sweet potatoes, didn't even peel them, and they're going to go right into the crock pot with the meat. And then I am going to dump in some other stuff, dump in some frozen corn, and I will dump in a can of diced tomatoes. I'll dump in a can of crushed tomatoes, and a little bit of maple syrup. I wanted this to have like a sweet smoky flavor, so I added a bit of maple syrup. And then mixed it all around and left that all day. So that was our supper all done. For lunch, I wanted something quicker, so I made chicken soup, diced up potatoes, some cabbage, and onions and garlic are in there already from the last prep. Carrots again, and then this is the leftover chicken from my crockpot chicken earlier in the week. This is so good. I love putting it into soups or into pastas because it's just like having a prepared rotisserie chicken that you can put into everything. And then of course, I put in another container of bone broth. I make a big batch in my big crock pot once a month or so, and then I store it in yogurt containers in the freezer, and I pull it out for soups. I'm going to put it in rice here in a minute, and I just wanted a little bit of extra water, and I honestly put the lid on this, and then I went and took a nap because I was tired, and when I came back, it was this beautiful soup for lunch. So it turned out really well. And we got a little snacky later on, so we did a fridge clean out smoothie. I used a frozen banana, which you can just freeze in their peels and then soak in a little bit of warm water. You can peel it easily. And to make this more filling, I put in chia and I put in hemp seeds, and I did a little bit of cottage cheese and a half an avocado that was in the fridge as well. Blended it all up, and there you go.
Yum, yum, yum.
With our chili for supper, I made some brown rice, and I used bone broth to cook it with instead of just water, and that makes it more flavorful and more filling. And then to plate it, I put some blended up cottage cheese. Didn't have sour cream, but that's more protein rich anyway. And I put jalapenos because I love spicy food. So that's what it looked like, our chili bowls for dinner. Friday, I switched things up from toast, and I just made some very simple oatmeal. And I tried to put in lots of ingredients. I should have put in berries, but my daughter was asleep, and the bag is really crinkly and loud, so I didn't. But this is some hemp. I put in chia as well. Put in coconut. I put in a little bit of cocoa powder and some cinnamon sugar. And I put a big dollop of peanut butter on top as well, and that was it. This week, because it was one of the first times I tried it, I'm making sourdough discard pizza. So I have my cast iron, got it nice and hot on the stovetop, and then I had a ton of sourdough discard in the fridge, and I just literally, all you do is you scoop it in there, spread it around. That's it. And I did a little bit of salt and some Italian seasoning on it, and then it goes in the oven for 3 or 4 minutes on 450. Bring it back out and add your toppings, and then it goes back in, and that's pretty much it. So I had leftover from the chili, I had some peppers, and I had jalapenos left from the chili, and this was so good. It was awesome. Just a really fun lunch, and it took maybe 15 minutes to put together. And our last meal for Friday was some tuna melts, which has been a staple of ours. I cook my tuna or flavor my tuna lots of different ways. I usually do a dill and lemon, but this time I decided to do everything bagel seasoning. And I added a splash of apple cider vinegar to just brighten it a little bit and give it a kick. And then of course I have my sourdough, and the tuna salad goes right onto the sourdough, and I put some cheese on top and broil it, and that's it. And this was so good. This was like comfort food from your childhood at its finest, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for sticking with me and watching this video. Let me know which of these recipes you want to try. I hope it inspired you to cook simply. A lot of times when you're cooking, you don't need to have a set recipe, you just need to have food. Toast is food, some leftover soup is food, and it's all made from scratch and made with love. Hope it helped. We will catch you in the next one.